Supabase is working with Postgres, and with Postgres we can create databases. Those databases are made with tables. So we are going to create now a table, and I'm going to explain to you everything you have to know about tables. So here I can click on Table Editor here on the left, and when I arrive there is no table yet. Of course, because we didn't create any table. So we are going to click on Create a new table, but before, if you look on the left, we can see that we got a first option, which is the schema. And if we look at it, we see that we have different schema. So for now, we are going to stay on the schema public, and I will come back later to explain to you what are schemas. So you can create as much table as you want, and all those tables will be displayed here on the left. A table, what is this? Well, actually, a table, it's a simple table with rows and columns, and they are going to define some kind of business logic or some kind of data. It will define actually the model of what you want to create. So we need to create tables to store our data. So I'm going to click on New Table, and we see here that I got this form that is opening on the right. And here I can start to create my new table under the public schema. So first I gotta give a name, and this name I suggest you to write it in snake case. It's really important. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm going to create several tables with several models. And the first table that I'm going to create is a table clients. Okay, I want to store clients. And on the description, I can put a table to store my clients. All right. After that, we have the enable row level security that is checked, and it's written recommended. So enable row security, we will have a full listen on it. It is restricting the access to your table by enabling this mode. So basically, with the row level security, your table, your database will not be accessible until you will write policies on Postgres. So we will need later to write policies to make our table accessible. So we are going to let that check. We are not going to enable real-time. The enable real-time option is to broadcast the changes on the table. And we are going to start right away by creating the model of our clients. So we can see here that we've got a little editor, and we've got columns with name, type, default value, and primary. And also we've got this cross to just remove this element. And we've got options here. When we click on it, we see that we got extra options. Here, this is the model of your data, all right? So you got to create columns to define the model of clients. Also, what you can do here, we see that we got an option to import the data via spreadsheet. All right, so let's create the model of our clients. There is an ID here, and we can see also that it's snake case convention. And what I can do is I can change, if you want, the name, and later we'll add new columns. Here I see that I got a little button, and when I click on it, we see that it's to add a foreign key for ID. So we will also look at this later. What we want to do is to create the model for now. So there is a type, and when I click on type, we can see that Supabase is providing to me all the Postgres data type that I can add to my specific row. So here it's ID. So we can see that I got integers, floats, numeric, JSON, text, UUID, date, and timestamps, and of course, booleans. So here I'm going to choose UUID. And if I go on the official documentation of Postgres on postgresql.org, I can find that Postgres is providing to me functions that are generating different kind of UUID. And here we can find the function that is integrated to Supabase, the UUID generate v4 that generate a version 4 UUID, which is derived entirely from random numbers. So in Postgres, and by extension in Supabase, we've got functions that help us to trigger some generations or some actions. So here I'm going to click here, and it's going to be the primary key. So for those who don't know Postgres, the primary key This is the key that is going to help us to index our element and to find it through the Postgres engine. All right, so our client will get an ID. There will be also a created at, which is a timestamp, and here we can find again the function now. So now it's again a function provided by Postgres to give us the current date and time. All right. However, this client will have more than this. And I would like to add actually here a new column, and it will be an email column. And I don't get any type email here, so what I can put is text. Okay, I want to add a text. And there we go. However, the thing is that I want that on my database client, every client here should have an email. If there is no email, I want to prevent to enter a client. I don't want to have a client that is generated without an email because I cannot identify him only with the ID. I would like to identify him with the email. So what I can do is to click here. And when I click here, we see that I got these extra options open and I got the option is nullable. So when I check this, I allow that email would be null on insert. And that's not what I want. So I'm going to remove it. And also, I want that this email would be unique. Because on my list of clients, I don't want to have different clients with the same email. I would like to prevent this. I can do it. So if I want to add a client without an email, I will get an error. And if I want to add a client that is already in my list, I will have an error also. So I'm going to click on this. There we go. I got an ID, a created at, and an email. All right. So let's say that we are going to stay on this for now. I'm going to click on save. I'm going to save the tables client. It's going to add the 3 columns to the client's table. And now, there we go. Our table clients is good to go. So we are ready to use it. And we see that it takes the form actually exactly like a spreadsheet. So we got columns and we can insert elements. And also what we got here, we see that we got a plus. If we want to add a new column to our model, it's of course possible. Congratulations, you got your first table clients. We've got several options. We see that we got refresh, which is very useful because we don't want to refresh all the browser. We can refresh just the table. We can then filter, sort the client. So let's imagine we will have thousands of clients. We can do it right away on Supabase. And this is something that I like. We can talk about it for a second. This is something that I like a lot with Supabase, is that it's visual. So when you are building a company and once you have a backend, you must have a back office for your company, such as for the marketing department, for the clients, everything that is related actually to non-technical departments. Well, with Supabase, your marketing department can come here and look at the data when they need something instead of requesting all the time actually the backend developer to have the state of the data. So it's very useful. You don't have to code it. It's right away there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to click on insert, and here we see that we get 2 options, insert row and insert column. So insert column, it's exactly the same as this plus there. So I'm going to click on insert row, and there we go. I got a new form, and here we see that I can insert a client. All right, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on save right away. I'm not going to fulfill anything. And what's going to happen, of course, is that I'm going to have my first error on Supabase. Violates not null constraint. Remember, email of clients cannot be null. So I have to enter a value. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to enter a value. So it's going to be codewithguillaume@gmail.com. There we go. And on the UUID, I don't need to put anything. The function is going to generate it for me, as well as for the created at. And there we go. I got my first entry inside my clients table. Let's say that I'm going to add a new row, and this time it's going to be antwilson@supabase.com. I'm going to save. There we go. I got another one. So as you see, I can later consult here my my data and change it right away, because under this I'm totally super admin, so I can change everything. And here I forgot to put, actually, I forgot to put one column. So I can click here and add a new column. And this one is going to be is active. And the description will be defines if client is active. Okay, I can add a foreign key relation. We're going to do it later. And as a type, I'm going to put Boolean. All right. And it cannot be null. And by default, it's going to be on true. What's going to happen here, and when I'm going to click on save, is that it's going to add, okay, the column is active and put the default value to all the members. All right, good. Now let's say that I'm going to try to add a new client, but with the same email. I'm going to click here. I'm going to type this. And when I click on save, I got another error, which is totally legit. It violates the unique constraint client email key because Andrew is already existing inside my database. Okay, we've got the table clients. Now let's create a new table. And this one is going to be a table orders by the clients, actually. There we go. We enable row level security. We do exactly the same. I'm going to use UUID, then I'm going to use the generated at. And here, what I'm going to do, I want to add a client ID for the future. And this one is going to be UUID also. And here, I'm not going to put the generator because I want to fulfill by an existing client ID. So here, I'm going to put that it's not nullable because I don't want my orders to have an empty client ID. So I'm going to save this ID created at client ID. Let's say that we're gonna have some kind of price, and there what I can put is just let's say a numeric. Okay, for now let's say a numeric. We allow it to be null for the moment. And what I can have also with this as an order is client ID, price. We can say a lot of other stuff like such address, and here what I can put is actually a text. Okay, here we define the address because it's supposed to be related to the client, but maybe the client will put a different address. So if we store the address in the client, we will have trouble later. We want to relate the address to an order. Okay, so address, and let's put zip code. Okay, we've got the zip code, and again, I'm going to put the text. Of course, I could put varchar, the variable length character string, but here I'm just going to put this zip code and city, and I'm going to put this, let's say, text, and there we go. So we've got client ID, and we need, of course, we need the name because if we don't get any name for the order, it will be terrible. So created at client ID, price, address, zip code, order. There we go. So I'm going to click on save. So now I'm not using any SDK with any app. So what I need to do is to take an existing client ID. So let's say that I'm going to take mine. So here I got an ID, a UUID. I'm going to save. And to create my order, I need a UUID. So I'm going to insert a row. And here I'm going to put as an ID this one. There we go. Then as a price, I'm going to put, let's say, $20. There we go. The address, I'm going to say 123 Supabase Road. There we go. As the zip code A890. There we go. City Supabase, and the name is going to be Code with Guillaume. And I can put anything I want here. I'm going to save, and there we go. I got my first order with my clients that I can use for now. So you see, we can create tables really fast. We can have as much table. I just created those two tables as an example, but just imagine that later you will have a lot of tables, and we will succeed later to create relations between the tables to actually deal with fetching the data at once and not fetching the clients, then the order, etc., etc. But we are going to see this after, because right now our table is not active because we didn't edit the RLS policies, the row level security policies.